par on David and the whistleblower
Yes.
testimony? Okay.
Yes, and that's about where my up to parness stops. Anything that's happened after David, I don't know.
Okay. Some of the things that I'll help piece together, and I'll go through and try to make sure I have them listed properly too. So David's just the tip of the iceberg with some of this stuff. So what's going on is this: not only do we have a crash retrieval program, what we do is we have a series of them, and those crash retrievals or those programs. It's like one's propulsion, comms, materials, that type of thing. We'll get to that probably more later if I can. But because and make sure you keep me on track, Mariah. That's what ends up
Okay.
happening, right? So in we got the programs, but not only that, we've had reverse engineered tech for a minute, just kind of what we can do tech wise for it, an offshoot. We'll call it a knockoff EM
Okay.
drive. It can't leave the atmosphere type thing. And this is stuff I'm telling you that's in David. So he's broaching on all kinds of corruption and things like that. And I'm trying to get to some of that. So there's a couple different cases you can think of. There's the Trapper incident. I want to say Idaho Falls, Post
Oh,
Falls,
okay.
Idaho.
Right.
There's 1862, I think, and then after that, you had the airship flaps, 1890s, right? After that, you've got 1933, in which what David was talking about. One of the reasons David was able to bring this about, and people don't understand this, is David uh, was able to talk about the documents and these things. It was kind of like a war trophy. So we took this craft illegally, type thing.
Oh, wow.
And so I've got it. If you guys get a chance, go to my Twitter. It's kind of posted on there, the whole rundown. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but from Italy, we got our propulsion tech, is right. This is what I'm going to be telling you in addition. So you've got this going on. We've had this tech. We've had all this, the whole Nazi bell. You guys can go look all that kind of stuff up. It's out there. What I'm trying to get to is the fact that we've had this tech. We've been going for a minute now. If you take the incident in Peru, and I want to say, was it 1997? I may have to edit that out and fix that. I can't remember the date. You can go and watch interviews with. I'm going to mess his last name. I'm not even going to try to say it. Well, Jonathan, right? There was an incident that took place, and in it, he talks about being threatened, seeing DOE guys, which is Department of Energy, and then being kind of locked up in a cell because he saw them doing that. And here's what I'll say that in my opinion, that's one of ours, and that leads me to the second incident. There was an incident that was just recently out with Greer, right? And he was talking about in Indonesia that he saw him smuggling guns or drugs or something along those lines, right? How would you finance the most clandestine covert operation in human history? You wouldn't reinvent the wheel, right?
Right.
So if you had a way to have an invisible, my hypothesis is this: we've got basically crash retrieval syndrome going on. And what that is not just ours. So we have ours, right? That are some far advanced tech, which would be Lockheed Martin has craft. You got NGOs that have craft, which an NGO is a non-governmental organization. That just scare people.
Yeah, definitely.
So how would you feel if you guys remember Blackwater
Yeah.
killing civilians? I'm an Iraq Afghanistan vet, so uh, remember that stuff. Well,
Yeah.
imagine somebody like that, no accountability, right? Okay, just remember that.
It's kind of terrifying.
It is terrifying, right? Now imagine a company like, yes, they only own assets and things, BlackRock. They're considered the fourth branch of the government for a reason. Now you tie all these up, BlackRock has this huge reach, right? So they have this huge reach to control the information because, yeah, they may only have shares or own an interest in the news organization, but they also have X amount of marketing they need to do. So they pay for advertising. So what's going on right now is you have David bringing out all this information that's all completely accurate. And you can go vet who he is yourself. Go look up, um, I guess you'd say, Eric Davis, his supposed leak, which I think that was a breadcrumb for everybody to get ready and know what an SSO was so
Right.
that they would know an SSO being involved means it's legit. So everything he's saying is legit. He's also given the same briefings to people in the course of his job, which would be illegal. He's a military whistleblower, so he wouldn't be going off the cuff here because it's a lot different. So that with the IG complaint, all these other things going on, I also happen to know from my own experience. He's not lying about these things and other sources. All this stuff's legit, and it comes down to the media trying to control what's going on, right? So that's why CNN, all these companies, no one's really picking it up, and it was all because of Blackwater. Wait, did I say BlackRock? That's what I
BlackRock.
meant to say. I would get them confused because I say them both so much. So now here's what we got the picture of. We have organizations, NGOs that have craft. We have governments that have craft. But within some governments, there's a clandestine organization that's an MJ12 upgrade. Maybe it's the Five Eyes. I don't know. That what they do is there's a shadow war going on. And whether people choose to believe it or not everything here is love and light. And I'll give you some examples of what I think the shadow war is. This is just me shooting poop and who knows, right? So you have incidents such as Kecksburg, where the military's on the scene, and you got the shape there, right? But then you also got, is it Russia Hill 166? There's an incident there. What we need to remember about that one is there's a DNA connection. Something that's done. Something happens to DNA with people that are around it, which reminds me of Rendlesham,
Right, right.
right? So I I think there's a connection between those, and perhaps that was what Ross was talking about. At first, I thought it was the Penturch, but then I don't know if it was Penturch, right? Because I posted tweets about it. In Wales, there was an incident, a UFO takedown, supposedly hits all the signs, but maybe Rendlesham was that, and no one else was aware. So these people, the reason um, Burroughs, I guess, stuff was all still locked up, his medical,
Right.
probably because they stumbled upon the takedown, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so the Maggi incident, which is also something that's similar, is part of the is in my hypothesis part of this shadow war. So you have these different incidents that are going on, and this is where it gets crazy because we have genuine crashes that we have to distinguish from our tech
Right.
and from tech we brought down in a shadow war. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense.
That's legit what's going on right now. I don't even know if there's anybody watching right now. Zero. Good. That's about where we're at. I don't think we tweeted it out or anything. Do you got to do that? I think you got to tweet that instead. I better do that real quick. That's all right.
Okay.
Go back and watch it. I ain't saying that again. We're gonna sit here silence for the next 4 hours. Yeah, that helps to do that, doesn't it? I don't think I did. I'm sitting there talking to myself because I like to talk to myself.
I'm gonna get Ryan on board too.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing now. Oh yeah, I am. There's, I think there's people watching, man. This thing's just bugged. They're all probably talking to me right now like you're an idiot. Wait, there's probably a way to look at that. Let me see if there is a way.
I don't see any comments.
All right. If there's anybody watching, leave me a thumbs down so I know at least you're watching. We'll figure this shit out, Mariah. All right. Now where were we?
Shadow Wars.
Oh, they're because some of them are watching on YouTube or on Twitter and shit. Anyway. Uh oh, the Shadow War. Very real thing, right? Where was I at? That's your job, Mariah. You know I go off topic. You got to
You
be a better
were.
co-host, or I'm going
I
to have to find
know.
somebody else that could put up with me.
I know. I might be better just staying behind the scenes.
No. So,
I just woke up.
Shadow War. Here's what I think. These it's just hypothesis type shit. Like if you read a lot, and so there's a lot of things going on. I think the vast majority is AI, like the metallic balls, and I think
Right.
the grays, possibly quite a few of them. But I think there's also a negative. Um, bear with me, people. Let's say fifth dimensional presence, which would be for us godlike or devil like or whatever, right? I also think there's a positive one here that, or no, I'm not just going to say, I'm not going to say positive because probably indifferent, but whatever. Point is, we've got so much going on. And I think David was trying to bring the tech forward. So he's talking about all this stuff. All this is to break the dam open for the woo. Um,
Right.
you know
Kind
what
of
the
get
woo is, right?
get people going in that direction.
Oh, that's the stuff. Look, I've been through ontological shock so many times. But what's crazy is my experience is such. I don't know if I want to talk about it much here because it's pretty hard to. So even talking about it in full will cause me to lose friends and people, right? That sucks. Like I get nuts and bolts. Nuts and bolts have been a part of my life for a minute, and I was somehow a part of that process with the nuts and bolts. But what's funny is I know for a fact talking about how I interact with the phenomenon daily for the last X amount of years on the real as I learn different things that are real things doesn't make any sense to me other than that. Here's something for you again. So yesterday I met up with Dale Robb. He wanted to have an experience. It was fourth, and I thought, oh man, we'll just wake up early. We woke up at like 3:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
right? And we walk out those doors, and I'm not talking 10 seconds. And I said, I look up, said, there it is, Dale. And he's having a hard time seeing it because there's lights and stuff. But right there, I mean, we were actually on the reservation too, I think, pretty close to it. Right there, right? Just the ball, the plasma ball, just going, and then he starts seeing stuff on his own as we're out there. I was tired, but that's been like 3 years sharing that with people, things like that, my location. So the woo's the different things that's coming. Now, you got any questions for me? Maybe it'll get me on a tangent that makes it some sense. You know, we're you're caught up, right? And
Yeah.
David's got more people behind it. Here's the thing that people need to pay attention. He's a godsend because all his stuff's pretty much self vetted. His job, the people he's talked to. Like, I'm not going to say I know, but if his job was this and he was to brief people, I bet you he briefed some pretty impressive people who could probably vouch for his ass, need be, right?
I would
That's
think
just
so.
me spitballing. But my point is, everyone needs to stop worrying about is he lying? That's not what the questions are.
Right.
The question should be, wait, what did he say? Go deeper because he can't say 90% of probably what he knows. Think about that. He's saying some pretty crazy stuff,
Oh yeah, I
but he
can't
can't say
imagine.
that.
Oh my gosh.
So,
And there are a few people listening, so if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to send them this way.
and yeah, do please. We're just spitballing here, talking about it. I'm kind of, I'll be not sure where my new space will be, but uh, we'll figure stuff out. Just want to bullshit, talk about the topic, and keep you guys updated. And some of the stuff that I think's important for the future is to go back and start thinking about the big events that happened and some of their different meaning. Right now, when Toby and I found this guy that was in a program, and they talked about these devices that they drove with. Right, we have a knockoff EM drive, so I say that we use a steering wheel. They had something that allowed them to connect consciously. I think we all know there's something there. So that's where this goes. That's the important stuff, right? And if they were able to do that, far advanced civilization, it's an advanced civilization. I could say that if you go look at the Cosrev, I'm always messing that name up. Cosrev mirrors, right? Go look at those. I need to stop saying right.
No, you're good. You're good.
You go check those out. And I want to say that's our initial attempt to try at getting to where they're at. Because if you think of whatever they're accessing, okay, so uh, let's say think of it as an electric rail, and we don't even know we're attached to it. So imagine that. Picture it as that. Whatever they're utilizing to act, to drive, do all these different things. That's what's important. And we call that the woo. Akashic record, these type of things are all things people need to revisit,
Right.
especially in terms of the way everything kind of panned out religiously. It seems to me that we've all been killing each other over the same shit. So, and that's for real. And what doesn't make sense is the people are only focused on whether he's, I just can't think of any person that want what David did on his, that shit is hardcore. He had to know what was coming. He saw what happened to Lou.
Oh yeah.
So I he's not lying. All you have to do, if you're not a moron, which I hope I have some viewers that are not morons, maybe there's one. If they're from UFO Twitter, there's a half of one. Uh, you only have to look at the story as a whole to see it vets itself. Everything does. He's legit, man. He's not lying. The things he's talking about are all legit. Now we need to focus on those, start pulling those apart because he's trying to give, imagine breadcrumbs of some sorts to give people direction to get to the woo. There's some stuff out there. Think about this. The whole Scott Andrews story. You know what that is?
No.
Okay. If you go, Simon Schuster just, I guess, released some kind of a press release. They won the rights to doing this cloak and dagger type story of an individual who's a military, 36 years Air Force. So it comes down to this. I don't know if I should even say this here yet. Oh, should I back up and talk about it from there? Well, I already mentioned the cause of mirrors. I think we had a program ourselves. United States government graduated. Obviously, we're not going to let the Russians take something seriously, which we know they had. We took ESP and Psi and all those things seriously. We're not
Right.
going to do that. So we started our own program, Project Pegasus. Now, if anyone gets a chance, you go and read up on the mirrors. I'm going to just call them mirrors, called Butcher 1,000 times. K mirrors. That's what we keep calling. Um, it was a way to focus time. And again, I'm not a non-scientist, and it worked. And during these experiments, people had not only experiences in their head, in front of them, there was events outside, UAPs popping in existence. This is all in a book, and when this is over, we'll add all of that information. You can go watch Y Files. AJ and Hecklefish got a hell of an episode on it. Check it out. They got a lot of the freaking sources all right there. It's pretty awesome, actually. So we took all of that information. We also know that people who children are more susceptible. We also know that walking away, they walk away with something, right? So gifts is what I'm going to say. We'll call them gifts. So from our experience or our program and the Russian program, we know this, that there's something, and we've been communicating with through this. I don't know what kind of new device they would probably use. So the Scott Andrews, remember, this is the whole Scott Andrews thing. I'm spitballing here. So we started the Project Pegasus, which is a time travel slash whatever you want to call it, communication, because these devices, which are cheaply made devices, basically give you a state, get you to the state of that electric rail, right? So they talk. I said right again. Damn it, Mariah, you're supposed to correct me. So they're able to talk to beings, NHI. They see things such as symbols. So the symbols are often they look like, I would say, well, straight out of what did I say? Well, we'll get back to the symbol. Old hieroglyphics that are kind of not understood, right? We don't
Right.
quite know. They look very unfamiliar. With
Yeah, I know what you're
Sumerian,
talking
it's about as close as some of them get to. I want to say Sumerian. And so, if these individuals are able to get access to this, whatever it is, talk to, the United States government definitely had a force of space kids. So, a space kid is what Scott Andrews was. So, Gary was one of the astronauts actually has a quote about the space kids. So these individuals we're using our offshoot brand or probably our knockoff mirror and to communicate. They were his little job, if literal job, if you go look at it on the thing was, I think it was communications, space something communications. So this is back in the day. Now when he walks away from it, that apparently he gets the, I guess you would say, discharge. Maybe they wash him, they wipe his memory or something like that because this is also MK Ultra ish, right? Now, again, guys, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the Simon and Schuster press release about Scott Andrews. I'm just kind of spitballing what you could look at in the real world that may lead you down this path because people are trying to, wow, this can't be real. Lou had said he was aware of all the facts. Prepare to be blown away. I'm trying to give you places to go look for those facts. That's all it is. So John Lucas, who's on UFO Twitter, we'll have to add that as well, Mariah, afterwards. He has a pretty good article covering a lot of the bases of this stuff, right? It's very MK Ultra type thing, and because children are more susceptible. Now, what if you're a child and you end up leaving? You end up taking with you these gifts that you don't even know you have, and they're activated somehow. That's what I think the whole Scott Andrews story is as well. I think it's going to touch on a lot of things that people aren't ready for. So, you know how secret machines was kind of the blueprint to nuts and bolts, facts with fiction. That's what I think this is for the woo. I really do. So, I also think that it'll help explain quite a bit for a lot of people. Did do you have any questions? Does that any make any sense to you? Oh Lord.
There you go.
Oh, you found it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're the best. That's it right there. So do you have any questions? I'm kind of bouncing around here, just kind of spitballing. If anybody, I don't even know how to look at. Wait, what am I doing here?
So go back to why this is important. This Simon and Schuster.
Oh, why that's important?
Yeah.
Well, that's super important. So this is legit. I think this is kind of an entrance into the real world of the woo the government has taken seriously. What this is Scott Andrews was one of those spy kids. So we'll get all the links and kind of post them in here afterwards. Spy kids. I said spy kids. Space kids. All right. So he's one of these space kids, and what they were is, I'm sure they were MK Ultra in some way. I'm sure trauma had something to do with it because, with my experience, I now know trauma has something to do with it. So um, he's one of these space kids. He's inducted. He's communicating with these, call them tall whites in HI. Okay, and that's basically what his job entails. And then when these kids go out, I imagine they flush their. This is so Men in Blacks type. It sounds crazy. I promise you, this is what's coming. People are gonna like this dude's eating mushrooms and going live. And I
But at
promise
this
you, I'm
point in
not.
time, I mean, if people don't believe that this stuff can really happen, then that's, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of unreal that people still think all of this stuff is a joke.
Yeah, and so I don't want to give too. I'm writing. Here's what I like to write, but I suck at writing sometimes when I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm trying to write all this stuff out. Like even right now, we can go back and talk about some different things that our government has known for a minute, right? Just like, you know, one of the things that's super important to talk about. I always say time travel. Time. Don't think of it like in the movies. No,
Not like Quantum Leap.
no. Just think about it entirely differently. So thinking about ti all things are happening at once. Everything. We just don't. We construct this perception here we got going
Right.
from back to forward. That's us. So if we had access, we'd see it all at the same time, which
You think it's
means,
on different frequencies?
well, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say this. You can look up like just what's coming with all of this, right? Recently I was looking into some of these different things and I didn't even realize it. Like there's papers on trauma being a form of time travel, things like that. So that's because it is if it is all happening at once and our mind's constructing it, if our mind gets, let's say something, let's say we put a chip into it or something breaks in it, but that allows us to see backwards and forwards because it's
Right.
all happening at once,
Opens
right?
those channels.
Well, whenever we have trauma, a traumatic experience, you take in more detail during this experience. During those experiences, you will say yourself, you remember more from that experience than you probably do something good that happened because it flies by,
Yeah.
right? So those moments that you've collected right there, this paper is pretty good actually, and I won't break it down. I won't break. Actually, there's this paper I'm going to talk about, but there's also the one human problem and the solution, which I'd like to break down, but I'm not going to do that today. I just wanted to keep this kind of short and let everybody know that this is where I'll kind of be. I got some stuff going on and take care of, and but I'll be popping in to do these different things and kind of sending them out, answering questions or doing whatever. But just kind of saying the woo's coming. I wanted to tell the channel. Is that right, Mariah?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You're good.
Yeah, that's it. Just a general and welcome. So we may have we have some ideas what we're going to be doing. I mean, actually, too, I haven't talked about this. I won't yet. I may have a couple things next. Won't be doing much from here for much longer, but I got a couple things going on, and I'll be actually recording and doing all of it, rather traveling as I do it all. So Mariah will be putting it here, and you
And we're
guys can.
always open for ideas. Like if anyone has anything that they want to ask you about or any topics that they would like you to kind of look into, right? They can
Yeah,
send those
absolutely.
ideas our
And
way.
as well, if you have an experience, you've had an experience, or if you're someone who does something within this topic and you would like a place to, actually, we would like you to come here and put your information, talk about it, why you do it, why it's important, and then cross promote anything you have going on. So we can do those as shorts, right? So we're just trying to find our way here, aren't we, Mariah?
Yep, working our way through the woo.
Yeah, we are. Now it's woo time. Look, I can tell you, I had a very distinct feeling people were freaked out that I was getting so close with nuts and bolts. It was like, oh, we can't keep this dude in his batshit crazy life needs to stay from the nuts and bolts. But you know what? Whatever was going on, whatever in my life has been interacting, hell, we didn't want none of that shit. It was dragging me,
Yeah.
literally dragging me straight there. So now I'm like, you know what? I got things I could be doing nuts and bolts wise, but I'm so focused on the woo because I'll put my face to this like I did nuts and bolts. No doubt. There's so much more than nuts and bolts. For what, 3 years now? I've been interacting in a way with a phenomenon that doesn't make any sense. And it's kind of, I couldn't talk. Actually, I still can't talk about to somebody, even a doctor. There's no way I could talk about some of the ways this, yeah. People out there feel me if you've had this experience.
Definitely.
Christopher Wolford, it's just so, still to this day, things happen that, that no one talks about yet, right?
Yeah,
So
people
there's
are
a
scared.
whole world that's out there, and that's what we're gonna do. We're here. Cool. So we'll cut it right here. And thank you, Mariah. This is
Thank
our
you.
first one. We just got to cut our teeth and do it. And here we go. I thank you guys for joining us. And make sure you subscribe, like. I mean, yeah, if it anything, like it because of Mariah, not necessarily me. And then throw this on your social media. Tell people get in here because I can promise you, there's way better journalists and reporters than me, no doubt about it. There's no better anomalist, right? Currently, that's happens to be a reporter slash loves this topic, and I have sources and I enjoy. I'm also an experiencer. So what else can I pour everything I have into this, guys? So just join me and we'll start busting the woo open. Sound good? All right, guys. Thank you.